Hi class. So this flip lesson is going to strictly focus on a pathway. Let's see here. So we'll do pathway. And the pathway is all about ATP, okay? And if you look here again, this cell right here is a eukaryotic cell. I'll just put EUK for short. We know it's a eukaryotic cell because it has a nucleus, it has the ERs, it has the Golgi, and it has the mitochondria, and those are just to name a few, okay? And so what we're going to do is focus on the organelles that are responsible for protein, or I mean ATP. And so let's go ahead and jump ahead to this slide. And so the organelles that are involved are the plasma membrane, which is really not an organelle, it's just a cell part, and the mitochondria, okay? And so those things, if you remember, the dance for it is, this is the plasma membrane, and then the mitochondria is like this, right? It has lots of energy, okay? Remember that ATP, right here, ATP is the energy currency of a cell, okay? And specifically, just to let you know, ATP stands for, really, really huge word here, adenosine. Adenosine is the A, the T is the T in triphosphate, right? Adenosine triphosphate, and so here's the P. So here's the A, and here's the T, and here's the P. I'm recording a lesson right now. And so that's the energy currency of the cell, okay? Now,
Wait,
just
is this your class?
Yes. You want to say
hi? Wait, is this going on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. Can you do this?
Why?
That's the mitochondria.
Wait.
Here's our friend Callie. You want to get in here?
Get in! Ow! In here. Yeah, I'm
here's
washing
the
her car
mitochondria.
right now.
Good job. Good girl right
Wait,
here.
is this live?
No, I'm recording it right now. And
Oh, it's
they're
very
gonna watch-
glitchy.
You know, it's storming out, so okay.
Oh, that's the camera. Okay.
All right, okay.
Hi, I'm her daughter, and I'm the best person on earth. Ha.
Okay. All right.
Sorry about that. Where's the car soap?
You have to get on the ladder, and
Yeah.
it's in a bucket way up high.
Okay.
Okay. So
Oh, I'm not even going to 4th grade. Just so you know.
okay, the ATP again is the energy currency of the cell, and there's a whole process here. So again, just like the other flip lessons that we have for the pathways, the ATP pathway does not work in isolation with one organelle. There's a bunch of other things happening, okay? So let's go through the pathway. So glucose is a sugar. This is actually it's a sugar that comes from the food that you eat. So your food gets broken down, and it gets broken down to a molecular level, and glucose is that level. And glucose then enters through the cell membrane, okay? And once it's through the cell membrane, because remember the cell membrane is the gatekeeper, right? It selects what can come in, and it selects what can go out. So it's what we call selectively permeable, okay? And what it does is it'll travel, once it's inside the cell, it'll travel through the cytoplasm. Remember, cytoplasm was this, and it'll travel to the mitochondria, okay? Now, once the glucose goes to the mitochondria, it goes into the mitochondria, and it enters it, okay? And once it's in there, it gets broken down. Now, if you remember, the mitochondria kind of looks like a circus peanut, like this. And inside, it has these squiggly lines. Those squiggly lines are called cristae. So you guys should be writing all this down. And that's basically a surface, okay? But it's not just one surface, it's a convoluted surface. So it provides a lot of surface area, right? Surface area to convert glucose into the energy currency of the cell, ATP. You know, if glucose only had like something like this to work off of, it wouldn't produce a lot of ATP. But because the inside of the mitochondria has these surfaces, so all these surfaces here, it's taking up a lot of area inside the mitochondria, maximizing surface area so that ATP can be made efficiently, okay? So just to reiterate, ATP is the energy currency of the cell. And it's generated is a fancy word for formed or transformed in the location of the cristae within the mitochondria, right? So there's our cristae right here. And then ATP doesn't just stay inside the mitochondria, it'll actually travel outside of the mitochondria, it'll travel outside of the cell, and it'll be sent to where it's needed, okay? So here is an image of the mitochondria. And so what happens here is that I will just put a G for glucose. G, or glucose, will come into the mitochondria, okay? And it'll actually convert to ATP on the surfaces of the cristae, okay? And it's not just one glucose at a time going in, it's many glucose molecules that will go in, okay? And it'll go in, and then what comes out is ATP. Okay? Again, that ATP is the energy for the cell, and you have cells all over in your body. You have millions and millions of cells, and some cells require more ATP than others. And so a perfect example of an area in your body that requires lots of energy is your heart, because it's always working, right? It's always working. So the cells that make up the heart have a ton of mitochondria inside. So the number of mitochondria vary. It varies from cell type to cell type. So if you look at this image here, this is a eukaryotic cell, right? We know it's a eukaryotic cell because it has all of these organelles inside, right? It's a nice K. And here is a mitochondria, here is a mitochondria, here's another one, okay? So you have many mitochondria in here. And then those are all responsible for the production of ATP, the energy currency of the cell, okay? All right, and that marks the end of the ATP flip lesson. ATP pathway.